I'm not assuming that you already know how to draw, and it feels like a lot. I know it might be frustrating. I got you, so stay with me. Hi, I'm Olga. Welcome to Nomad Sketchbook. If you are a complete beginner, and I mean it, if you are a complete beginner in drawing, this video is for you. Today I want to share with you some techniques that will help you improve your drawing even if you start from scratch, if you have zero background in drawing. And believe me, I feel you. I know what it means to start something, and especially drawing, and it feels like a lot. All the techniques, all the materials, all the amazing artists on the internet. I know it might be frustrating, but I got you. Today, we'll do something very basic, and I'm sure you can do it. By the way, you are not too old. Forget all the judgment. Today, we're here to enjoy and to have fun. And the good news for you, I'm sure that you already have all what you need, because basically what we can start with is simply a piece of paper. This is basically paper for printing, or if you have a sketchbook, that would do. This one is with some sketches already. But today we're going to start with blank page. So as I said, today we're working from scratch. And apart from that, you will need a pencil. Here I have several. And as you can see, I sharpened it with a paper cutter. If you want, I can share the process of preparation of the pencil in a separate video, so let me know in the comments below if you are interested. And we're ready to start. So grab a piece of paper, a pencil, and we're ready. So we are ready to start. I have printed out several reference photos that we're going to work with. And something quick I wanted to comment: if you choose your own reference photos, it is better to choose something really easy and just check that the shape is not very complicated. Plus, it is better to choose something that is clear and has a good contrast with the background. This way, it will be easier for you as a beginner to analyze the form and to transfer it to your drawing. So, let's start with this beautiful flower. And I will explain to you some concepts that you can use basically with any drawing. And the first thing I want to explain to you is what we can call a basic shape, right? So what is a basic shape? It can be a circle, it can be a square, it can be a triangle, it can be an oval, right? So here, if we check this photo, here we have the flower. So basically we have it as an oval, right? Or a rectangle. And apart from that, we have these small petals, but these are the details that we can add later. The most important thing is to start with a big shape. So basically, when I first look at an object, I'm trying to understand what basic shapes it consists of. So here we have this big shape right here, and then these details that we can add further on, right? So this is the first thing. And this is basically what we can start with, right? So, as we said, an oval or a rectangle. And another tip, if we want to
make it even easier for us, we can check if the X, or basically the middle line of the object, is vertical or not. So in this case, as you can see, if we take two middle points of an object and we draw this line, it will be the middle line of our object. So in this case, we have it approximately. It shouldn't be exactly where it is. It is not math after all. It is a sketch, right? So if we draw this line, or even if we just imagine it, it will be clear that it is actually inclined. So when we draw this shape, we keep in mind that all of it has some inclination, right? So let's try to draw it here. We can start even with this line, just to keep in mind this angle that we have. And then we can start with an oval shape or a rectangle, right? Here you choose whatever you prefer. And another tip. I know even this might be a little bit complicated if you have never tried to draw anything. So another tip that you can try to do, if you want to make it closer to the photo, and because, for example, I know sometimes if you just try to draw it, it might turn out, for example, too tall or completely flat, right? So it is hard to control it at this first stage. So what you can do, you can use your pen, and you see how I hold it. So try to do the same thing. You can also print out a picture, or you can use it, even your mobile phone, just to keep it there. So what we can do, we can take the pen and to measure, and you see I follow the middle line. You can measure the height of this basic shape. So let's see. It is this basically, right? And what I can do now, I can check. So it is 90 degrees to this middle line. So basically it is almost double, a little bit less than double in its width, right? So you see what we can do. So this will give us the basic proportions of this object. And here what we have, right? So this is the size, and it is approximately these dimensions. And the important thing, don't be too strict with yourself. We're here to learn, to practice, and your drawing doesn't have to be 100% the photo, right? It is a free expression of what we see. So now, as we have this basic shape, what we can do now, we can even add this part, just to keep in mind for the composition as well, to keep it well put in our sheet of paper, just to remember that we have enough space for all the parts of this drawing. So now, the second important concept that I want to share with you. So these were basic shapes, right? Basic shapes. And another thing that I want to explain is so-called anchor points. What are those? Basically, those are the points that can help us draw our picture even more precise. So, once we have the basic shape, we can add these points on most important parts of our drawing. So it will be easier for our eye to focus on these points, and we can even check what kind of shape it forms, right? And then we can use these points to see where approximately they are. So for example, I can put it here, right? Another one. I can check. So it goes right? It is higher, it is approximately here, but it's still to the left from this border. So it would be approximately here, right? So this way it will be much easier for us to draw the details and we won't get lost along the way. So you see, for example, with this petal, we can also draw this line. It has this similar inclination as the middle line. So it would be approximately here, right? And this one, it would be, so you can see it is a little bit to the right from this point. So we can see that it would be somewhere here. So these are additional points that will give us the understanding of where the elements are put. So all of that we can draw with very thin lines. You can put these anchor points, you can draw this basic shape, just don't press too much, because these are additional lines that are simply guiding us through the drawing process. And now we can continue and we can start adding the details. And again, try to keep in mind that all of that is one single shape. Just now we can start again choosing some anchor points and analyzing how, for example, one line is full, if it has a curve or not. And we can start by adding these details, right? And again, don't judge yourself, just try. Here we don't have right or wrong. The most important is the process. The most important is to try and to learn. Because with drawing, the most important thing is practice. The more you draw, the better you get. So you see, I'm starting with this big shape. And you see how easy it is to add the details now as we have the understanding of where all these details are going. So basically, I'm just adding the information inside our basic shape. You see? So we have our flower. Now we can add, you see, these details that we were talking about that are not the part of the basic shape, but it is very easy to find the right place for them, right? So you see, I'm not pressing too much because, once again, when we start drawing, it is time for the experiment. It is time to try, to analyze, to make adjustments. And once we have this sketch, we can add a little bit more, let's say, we can make it a little bit more expressive. So by taking your pencil and adding some pressure in most important parts of your drawing, it will give it a more three-dimensional look even without adding any tone or values. So even keeping it a simple line drawing, you can make it feel more three-dimensional. You see, for example, an easy tip, if you don't know where to add this accent, if you don't know where to add this if you don't know where to press, where to put this highlight, just keep in mind that the detail that is closer to you, that is the one you can make more prominent. So for example, I can work on this petal, maybe this one, and this one, right? So these are the ones that are closer to us if we look at the photo, if we just think logically, right? This is what we see and what is simply closer to us. And you see, I'm not adding a complete outline. I'm just highlighting some details, right? So you can do the same thing. Don't add this line all around, because this way it will be more like a cutout, and what we want is to keep it more artistic. We want to keep it alive. So you see, now we can remove these additional lines that we have. Now we don't need them, right? And from here we can add some more confident strokes and add some details if you want. So once again, these tips that we have just seen, you can apply it to any drawing, to any shape, but of course it will be easier to start with something that is not too complicated, right? So here is one drawing that you can easily do in less than 10 minutes. So one last thing, it is, let's say, the next stage, but you can try it if you want. You can take a pencil and you can add some tone, basically to make it a little bit easier. Even if your pencil is not sharpened like this, even if it is a simple one, you can take the pencil and try not to use the point, but this side of the pencil, and try, you see how I'm holding the pencil, like this. So you can try to make it, can add a little bit of tone to some petals, and this way, even without analyzing the shape, the light and the shadow, it can get much more interesting, right? So here it is, our drawing number 1. So this technique that we have just seen, it is based on basic shapes and anchor points. So now we can try another technique that is very good for quick sketches and basically to build the connection of our brain and our hand, because especially when you are a complete beginner, it is very hard to make our hand draw what we want. So a quick technique that you can use for any drawing, it is a line sketching. What it is? So here we used, let's say, more analyzing method. So we were analyzing the shape, we were trying to make it, let's say, correct. Even we're not talking about making mistakes, but this method is all about freedom. Here we don't analyze, we don't think. What I want us to do is to simply look at a drawing, at a photo, right? You can choose any object that you can see around you. It is even better to draw from life, because here we have a flat image, right? It is printed, there is no volume, there is no perspective, but when we draw from real life, we have a completely different experience. So I highly recommend, especially at the very first stage, to at least combine drawing from photos and from real life. So what is the idea? The idea is to see an object as a silhouette. So what I mean by that? If we look at this cat, let's try to imagine that we don't see anything inside this shape. So what we see, you can imagine that we have a bright light coming from behind, right? So what happens? We can't basically see anything. We just see the outline. we see just this shape, right? This is what we see. So, what we're trying to do is to simply bring this shape to paper. And it is a very important skill because we can draw anything with basically in no time, and it is very important to train as well our eye. So this is all about the connection of our eye, our brain and our hand. And I know this is not an easy exercise, and you see it takes a lot of concentration and attention at the moment, but as you can see, you can actually draw anything inside this shape later. But the most important thing, here we have caught main proportions. I think anyone can say that this is a cat, right? So we have succeeded, at least we have expressed an idea or something that we wanted to keep as inspiration for later, right? Because later on, from this shape, you can draw a complete drawing. So later, for example, you can try even to develop it, to add some details, to work on all those details that we have in this picture. And if you want to continue, you can use the same technique that we used together in the previous drawing. So you can go deeper into analyzing the basic shapes, right? So for example, circle here, an oval here, right? The pose, also we can check it as ovals, some triangles here, right? So all of that can be added if you want to make it a detailed drawing. And then using anchor points, right? You can find all the important things that will help you create a realistic drawing without any drawing skills or artistic background. So, you see, this one was quite easy. And the last drawing we're going to make today is this. So, here, what I want to show you, it is much easier to do it actually with a pen that is sharpened this way, because you see this part is longer. So if you compare, usually this pencil is just for these purposes, right? To draw single lines, but it is harder to use it this way. It is possible, but if you use this one, it gives you much more freedom. It is just easier to use this technique. So what I want us to do is to look at this picture, but instead of thinking in lines, I want us to think in tone. So tone is basically this. So the main difference between a line is this, right? It is separating two parts. But a tone is this. So inside this tone, we can add something that is darker, something that is lighter, right? And line and tone, these are two basic techniques, two basic instruments that we have in any drawing. So here, when we have an object, sometimes we can draw it as a line, right? So for example, here I'm just giving you a very quick example because this one, it won't be about the line, but right? We can draw it simply with lines. You see, this is just a very quick sketch. We're not working on a complete and detailed drawing. But what I want you to try is not to be afraid of tone, because I know it can be scary, and I totally understand that you don't know what to do with all of that. But this is the important part, just to get a feel of it. So, just try to take your pen this way, and instead of checking only the lines, check the tone. So, you can definitely see that this part is white, so it will be light, and this part is black, literally black, so it will be darker, right? This background is also dark. The sky is darker than this part. So, a very, very, very quick task for you. You see, sometimes you don't even need to use the whole space of your piece of paper. So I actually like these kind of frames, because you just limit yourself if you want to make it easy and small. So here we can make a quick sketch using the techniques we talked about, right? So the basic shapes, this is what we were talking about. We can see it as two triangles, right? Here we have basically another triangle, so we can add it here. Take your time to do it, pause the video if you need. And now let's add the background, right? So we can just keep it as a rectangle. And now try to analyze what is the darkest part in this whole photo. So I would say we can start with this, because it is first closer to us and it is really dark. And the second dark part is this. Especially it gives us a very good and beautiful contrast with our boat. So now, what's next? Let's imagine that we just have 3 different tones. It is really important in the very beginning not to think of all the potential tones that we have, because this would be crazy, right? Because we have all these middle tones in between. But let's imagine that we have simply the dark, the black, middle tone, and white. So if we apply it to our picture, we can use black for the boat, the forest and the background. The middle tone would be for the sky, right? And you see, when the pencil is sharpened, it is really easy to use it like this. And water around the boat is also quite dark, so we can continue applying the same tone right here. You see? That was very easy, very quick, and yet you can already guess what we have drawn. And here you can add some details, you can add your own touch, right? And here we have a quick and nice picture. You can even work a little bit on the reflection. You can make it a little bit more interesting just by adding some extra tone right here, right? So feel free to experiment, to try new things, and I hope this video was helpful. So here we have our 3 sketches.
Thank you for watching this video. I really hope it was useful and helpful. If you have any questions or doubts, don't hesitate to write me in the comments below, and please share with me your ideas. What would you like to see on my channel? I will be happy to share with you what I know. And if you like this video, please give it a thumb and subscribe to my channel. It will really help me to grow and create more. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye.